Welcome back to Tabletop Titans. My name is Adrian. I am so excited to be here to present my very favorite codex and army of all time, the Orks. This is a jam-packed book with 6 detachments. I love this faction. They're just so much fun to paint, to build, to convert, to play. They are just amazing, and I am so excited for this. So join me as we go through the rules of the brand new Ork Codex. I'm going to go through all of the rules, all of the detachments. We'll talk a little bit less about the units, but I think there's a few ones that are interesting to discuss the changes that they've gone through. And of course, let me know in the comments section if I missed anything. This is basically a first look at the book, so that could happen. But again, I'm very excited to be doing this. And of course, if you want to see more content like this and follow all of our Ork coverage, definitely hit that like, subscribe, and consider becoming a member, because we of course are going to be doing Ork games for members only, where y'all can decide what style of Orks we try out. With that, let's get on into it. All right, so first of all, love this. New art is best art for Codex. This is fantastic. So this is not the special edition one, which makes me sad. I might have to try to get that one separately. And as I mentioned, we're going to be focusing on the rules today. So of course, in the comments, let me know if there's cool art that I miss, or lore, or things like that. But we're just going to do a quick kind of flip through of all the previous pages. This does look like something new. That's cool. And we're just going to get to the rules. It's a pretty sizable lore section, which is nice, actually. They go through the different clans. So you have the Goths, so they've got Gazkol, Maguruk-Thraka, Zagstruck, even though I think he's not in this book anymore. Evil Flat Suns, Bad Moons, Death Skulls, Blood Axes, Snickrot, definitely getting a bit of a glow up there. Snakebites, Mozrog, we're going to have to talk about Mozrog. Zodrog, Freebooters, Captain Baddaruk, also no longer in the book. So that's a thing. And then of course we get showcase of all the new models. Sorry, all the models. There is only one new model, and this is of course going to be this boy right here, which I have mixed feelings on rules-wise. We'll talk about what that means. So you can see here, we're just about to this end of the just kind of graphics section. We have Combat Patrol, which is this cool, weird Combat Patrol. It's got a beast boss right here. We have a couple units of Beast Nagas and a unit of the Squig Hog boys. So pretty sweet box, actually. I think it's all good stuff in there. So that's a really fun one to get into. We've got some painting, which is always a welcome thing. I think it's always nice to have accessibility for that. Combat Patrol, maybe we'll do a separate video on Combat Patrol, so let me know, of course, in the comments if that's something y'all be interested in. But we're going to go right to the meat and potatoes, the tofu of the book. Let's get into it. So first off, army rule. Whoa! Any proper Ork army has a proper WA, so let's see if that has changed. If your army faction is Orks, once per battle at the start of the battle round, you can call a WA. If you do until the start of the next battle round, the WA is active for your army, and you gain the following benefits. You're able to declare a charge in a turn in which they advanced, and you get +1 strength, +1 attack on melee weapons, and then they have a 5+ invulnerable save. So that is the same as it has been all throughout 10th edition. It's fantastic. I love the WA. I think it's great. I love that it's not a 2-part system anymore. Fantastic. No changes needed. I love it. Then we're going to get into the War Horde. Now this is effectively what we had before in the index for Orks. It's been rejiggered a little bit. Some things have been moved around, which we're also seeing in other codexes like Tau. And so let's break it down. So first off, you have your detachment rule, which is get stuck in. And this gives your melee weapons sustained 1. Awesome. Nothing new there. It's a great ability. It means you can spike super high. It makes you a bit more consistent as well. And it's just great. We've got Follow Me Lads. While the bear is leading a unit, add 2 to move characteristics of models in that unit. Fantastic. Still great. Love it. Head Wappas Kill Choppa. Classic. This is Orks model only. Melee weapons equipped by the bear, excluding their extra attacks. So this means like your squigs and your squig mounts. Have the Devastating Wounds ability. That's excellent. We will see there have been changes to squig characters. And so that's going to impact a little bit of how we use this one, right? Next, we've got Cunning but Brutal, Ork model only. While the bear is leading a unit, they're eligible to shoot and declare a charge in which they fell back. It's fantastic. I think just as powerful and useful as ever for those big units of Squig Hog Riders. The fallback and shooting is cute. You're not going to use it that much. It's mostly so you can do actions if you really needed to, but largely going to be falling back and charging back into combat, right? That's great. Super cyborg body, 4+ feel no pain. Awesome. Love it. You can get super obnoxious with some of the characters on that. And actually more relevant than ever, once we get to the squig section, I'll just go ahead and say it. We lost the 4+ feel no pain on our big squig hog bosses. And so this might be something that's actually interesting with them. Whereas before, you were kind of just taking it on the war trikes, which is cool, but that's the thing. So I think losing the 4+ feel no pain hurts, but I think it's not unjustified. I think they were maybe a little bit too tough, and there's going to be more of that in here. So prepare yourselves. 1 CP, Kareen. When does occur? Any phase just after an orc vehicle from unit with a deadly demise ability is destroyed. If you rolled a 6, that destroyed unit orc vehicle. If you rolled a 6 for its deadly demise ability, you can use the stratagem on that unit even though it's just destroyed, and then make a normal or fall back move before the deadly demise is resolved, and before any embarked units perform an emergency disembarkation. While making this move, your unit can move over enemy units, excluding monsters and vehicles as if they were not there. This strat is so cool, but it so rarely comes up. I think it's a bit of a shame. Personally, I would have liked for them to have either made this auto-explode, or if that's too much, make it like on a 4+ or something. Just something to make it a bit more consistent, not just like that one time you randomly roll a 6, you know? So that's a bit of a bummer. I think it's a cute strat, but it could have been actually really cool with just a little bit of a tweak. So that's a bummer. Next up, we've got Orks is never beaten. This is the same as before, 2 CP in the fight phase after one of your units has been selected as a target of an attack, and you get to fight on death automatically. Fantastic. Especially if you've seen the Custodes Codex, they have lost a lot of their fight first capability, and this is great because this is not quite fight first, but it does mean if someone charges into you and you don't get the upper hand, you still get to fight and ensure that everyone dies. So it's amazing. 2 CP, totally justified, fantastic. Unbridled Carnage, 1 CP, giving criticals on 5s. So remember, in this detachment, that means sustained on 5s as well. If you have lethal going, that's great too. And yeah. Great strat, I love it. No feedback. Art as Nails. This is an incredible stratagem that they've tweaked just a little bit. You do this in your opponent's shooting or fight phase after they've selected their targets. You can select an orc unit from your army, excluding grots, monsters, and vehicles. Now before, you could not do it on grots and vehicles. They've now extended the exemption also to monsters. This unfortunately means your beast bosses on Squigosaur not going to be eligible for this anymore. What does it do? -1 to wound. Honestly, again, this is a case where as an orc player, it makes me sad, but as a player of the game in general, I think it's probably healthier. They were just a little too tough, especially Mazrog with that crazy high toughness, -1 to wound. And it's just -1 to wound, right? It's not like, oh, if they're higher strength and toughness, then -1 to wound. It's just always -1 to wound. So it made it so small arms fire was basically unusable against them. And so I think it's probably for the best. We'll see, I could be wrong. But yeah, it's still a very strong strat. Next up, we've got Mob Rule. For a CP end of your command phase, you select 1 mob unit from your army that contains 10 or more models and not below half strength. Then you select a Battle Shock Orcs infantry within 6, and they're no longer Battle Shocked. This one, again, this rarely comes up. I don't think I've ever used this strat, ever. And I wish they would have tweaked it, made it something more interesting. Like, I don't know. I'm not sure. But this is not it. This is not the business. It's not particularly interesting or powerful. It's very, very niche. Kind of the same problem as Kareen. So that's a miss still. This strat, here we go, however, remains amazing. 1 CP, starting your movement phase. 1 orc infantry unit from your army gets +2 advance and +2 charge. Fantastic. This is great. So overall, Warhorde, same idea. We're seeing generally some toning down of things, which I think makes sense, and it's going to make some of the other detachments still interesting and viable. So that's the Warhorde. Let me know what you think, folks. Curious. Let's move on to the new detachments. We've got Da Big Hunt. This is, of course, the Beast Snagga detachment, all about Beast Snagga boys and Squighog boys, and all those new units. So what does it do? The detachment rule is Da Hunt is on, and this is a kind of Oath of Moment style detachment where you pick one thing and you're going to hunt it. You're going to go fight it, you're going to be great against it. So at the start of your command phase, just like Oath, you select a monster, a vehicle, or a warlord from your opponent's army. They can be embarked on a transport, that's okay. And if there's nothing eligible for that, then you can pick a character. What does that mean? That unit is now your prey until the end of the next command phase, start of the next command phase. And what it does is your beast snagging units can reroll charges against it. Cute. And your beast snagging units get +1 AP against that unit. Ooh, that is very, very spicy. Because one thing that orcs do struggle with sometimes is they have a lot of volume, they have a lot of damage, but they have low AP, right? The beast snagger boys, the squig hogs, generally going to be at AP 1. And so things like armor contempt, things like 2+ armor, really makes us sad. So that's really exciting. Charge is good, +1 AP is great. There are some matchups where this won't apply, obviously, if you're going to like demons. So that's a bit of a bummer. I think the other bummer thus far is monster, vehicle, or warlord. It does mean that you're going to have some detachments, some armies that you go up against, and you're just not going to have a suitable target. There might not have any monsters or vehicles, and the warlord is generally controllable by their opponent, right? They can say, I'm just going to hide them in the back and not really have them engage. And Custodes, for example, an army that would do really well into the big hunt because they don't have any monsters. Their vehicles maybe will make an appearance, but right now that's a lot of infantry. And then of course their warlord is one unit that might not have to engage early on. So that's my biggest concern with this. I kind of wish they had just included the character from the start. I don't know if that'd be too strong, but I think it would make this detachment much more generalizable. So already, while I think it's very cool, and it's bordering on competitive, that's my biggest concern, is some matchups it's going to just be almost impossible to use this mechanic, which appears later on in the detachment. So speaking of which, we've got the enhancements. We've got Glory Hog, which gives, this is only for the Beast Boss on Squigosaur. Models in the Bears unit have the Scout's 9 ability. I love this. And this is, again, we got to talk about data sheets. The Beast Boss on Squigosaur now can join units of Squighog boys. And I think that's generally how we're going to see them played. They lost the Feel No Pain, like we said. I believe they lost toughness. They're a little bit squishier, but they can now join those squads. And having them, that whole big giant unit, scout up 9 inches, fantastic. The other change with that unit is the knobs on Smash the Squig have just been rolled into the squad. So for every 3 regular Squighog boys, you get the knob on Smash the Squig rolled in. Which again, makes sense. That's what the box comes with. So this is a big, big unit of 9 Squig Riders. So this is fantastic. I love it. Scrag Every Stash. Great name. This is only for Beast Snagga model. And at the end of your command phase, if they're within range of an objective mark you control, it remains controlled even if you have no models within range of it until your opponent controls it at the start of any turn. Sticky objective holding. Hold an objective. If you get killed, you're still on it. This is cool. I like it. It gives them basically the ability that normal boys have. So this is fantastic. Proper Killy, also Beast Snagga only. Add 1 to the damage characteristic of melees equipped by the bear. Fantastic. Nice and generalizable. You could do this on the Beast Boss on foot. You can do it on the, of course, Beast Boss on Squigosaur. I love this. It's incredible. Last of all, Surly as a Squigoth. That's a classic that returns. This one's only, of course, for Beast Boss on Squigosaur. While they're leading a unit, each time an attack targets that unit, if the strength of the attack is greater than the toughness, subtract 1 from the loot. So, what does that mean? This is what I was referring to earlier. Basically saying if they have a strength that's higher than your toughness, subtract 1 from the wounds. Basically making it harder to wound your unit on a 3 or a 2. So it's good. It's not too powerful, but I think it's fantastic. Honestly, I think these are 4 good enhancements. These 3 I think are basically auto take. I think the sticky objectives is good, but I think these are just so strong that you're going to be taking these every single time. So enhancements looking great. So decent but potentially problematic detachment rule. Fantastic enhancements. Let's take a look at the stratagems. We've got Drag It Down for a CP. This is a battle tactic. 1 CP in the fight phase, you select a Beast Snagga unit from your army that has not been selected to fight this phase, and they are going to gain access to Sustained 1. And of course, if they're targeting your prey unit, you get crits on 5s instead of 6s. So 1 CP to get sustained is nice. And then if you're going against the prey, it's very, very nice. Kind of recreating some of the damage that we used to have in what is now called the War Horde detachment. But I like it. And I like that this is crits on 5s rather than saying sustained on 5s. This is good. It's solid. Next up, we've got Unstoppable Momentum, strategic ploy for a CP. In your charge phase, just after a beast snag a mounted unit ends a charge move, they do mortal wounds. It's kind of a tank shocky rule. So you roll a dice for each model in your unit, and it's a 4+ to do a mortal wound up to 6. And if they're their prey, you roll 3 additional dice. So this is particularly nice on these big squads of squig hog boys that we mentioned. So that it's going to be 8 minimum. It's 4 minimum. Generally, I think you're going to want to run them in the big groups of 8, and then goes up to 9 with the big beast boss and squigosaur. So that is 4.5 mortals, and then your 3 additional d6 is going to help you get up to the 6 average mortal wound dice. So I think it's nice. I think it's well designed in that you got to take the whole squad to consistently get those 6 mortal wounds, but it's not unreasonable that you might pop this on a smaller squad, especially if it's going into your prey. That one's even bigger. 1 CP. It's in the charge phase, you select a beast snag unit from your army, and what does it let you do? Well, it lets you advance and fall. Lets you charge if you advanced or fell back, as long as one of the targets was your prey. Incredible stratagem that's only tempered by the fact that you need to have the prey in there. So again, very strong, as long as you're facing an army that lets you select a reasonable prey target. So really, really going to depend on your matchup. I think generally it's decent. It's just such a meta question. And of course, I'm recording this right when the Ork book is being released. And I think the viability of this stuff, this detachment in particular, is going to wax and wane as the meta changes. Next up, we've got Where Do You Think You're Going? 1 CP, strategic ploy. In your opponent's movement phase, after they've ended a fallback move, you can select a beast snag infantry or beast snag mounted that was within engagement range. One of your units has been fallen back from, and you can now make a 6-inch move. It's just a normal move, so you can't get an engagement range, but it's not like a pile-in or anything, so you can move any direction. So ideally, you'll be kind of next to terrain or an objective, and then when they fall back from you, you can then just scoot over to be hidden or scoot over to be on an objective and be kind of a pain. That's cute. I like it. It's tactical. It's interesting. Punishes them for falling back from you. I'm into it. Stock and Tactics, battle tactic for a CP. In your opponent's shooting phase after they've selected their targets, you can do this on beast snag infantry, beast snag mounted. That was selected as a target of attack. And what does this do? This gives you cover, and if they're infantry, stealth. It's not bad. I like it. I like it, actually. So cover is great because the Squig Hog Riders have actually a 4-up save. Going to 3 is nice. And if you're infantry, then you're getting the stealth. So in my mind, they do stack. So like infantry will get +1, they'll get cover and they'll get stealth. But really, I think the reason you're taking this strat is cover on the hogs and stealth on the infantry. That's really how I break that down. But it's good. It's a battle tactic, and the other one is the crits. So they're probably going to try to vect one. They're going to try to vect one of these two, and I think the strength of that will depend on the matchup. Last of all, Instinctive Hunters for a CP. It's a strategic ploy. End of your opponent's fight phase, you can select a beast snagging unit that's not in engagement range, remove it from the battlefield, and place it into reserve. We love to see some uppy, downy, and it's any beast snagger unit. Oh, this makes me so happy. I love this. I love playing tactical. I like that it fits into this other detachment that's all about movement and hunting specific targets. Fantastic stratagem. Love it. So what do we think about this detachment? Overall, this is the detachment I'm the most torn about. Because if you're going into an army that has decent prey targets, then I think it's an amazing detachment. I think it's strong, I think it's aggressive, I think it's tactical, it's all those things. If you're going to an army that doesn't have a great prey target, then it falls apart pretty badly, in my opinion. I think there's like almost every single strat relies on a prey target. Yeah, half of them is all on the prey target. So that's my fear. Let me know what you think. I think it's not bad right now because we have a lot of monsters and vehicles. But if that changes, we'll see. So I will play it. Looking forward to playing lots of squigs. Moving on, we've got the Cult of Speed. This is, of course, the detachment that's all about going fast. It's all about your Evil Sun style play. It's all about bikers and buggies. This is also a detachment that has been very contentious in the past. We had the era in which they were way too shooty and just tabled everyone, and we've had the rest of the time when they've kind of been kind of terrible, couldn't really play the game. Buggies have not been amazing in this edition at all. War bikers have seen play as kind of a tech utility piece, but let's see what we got here. So the detachment rule is adrenaline junkies, and this grants your speed freaks units from your army the ability to shoot in a turn in which they advanced or fell back. Cool, I like it. It means you're not getting tagged. It means you can be fast and get in position to shoot. So as a detachment rule, I'm into it. You know, Advance and Charge would have been nice, but I think the last few years, especially, Cult of Speed has all been about shooting. So that's fine. Enhancement-wise, let's take a look. We have 4 of them again. Wazblasta is only for the Defkiller Wartrike. And what it does is in your shooting phase, after the bear's unit has shot, if it's not within engagement range of an enemy model, you can scoot 6 inches. So a shoot and a scoot. It's cute. I wish it could be... I'm just going to double check. I highly doubt the Defkiller Wartrike can now join anything else. Like if they could join Defcoptas or a buggy somehow, that would be awesome. But I'm like 99% sure that that has not changed. So let's take a look. Defkiller Wartrike, yeah, just joins Warbikers. And that's the problem with this is like, yeah, Warbikers have decent shooting, just volume, some AP. You're using this mostly for movement and positioning, so move blocking, completing secondary, stuff like that. So it's okay, it's fine. Faster than use, this is for Orks infantry, and this is awesome, I love this one. This basically grants them the old truck boys ability. So it says after the bear's unit disembarks from a transport, they can get out after the transport has moved and lets them charge. So not quite the truck boys, but it's very similar. So normally, if you get out of a transport after it's moved, you can't charge, but this allows you to. So now instead of moving your normal move, you can project outwards. In the WA turn, you're not really taking advantage of the advance and charge, but still very strong, very interesting, very cool for turn 1 threat, I'll say, because you're not likely to WA turn 1. Next up, we've got the Squig Hide Tires, another classic, the Defkiller Wartrike model only. They get a 6-inch consolidation instead of a 3-inch consolidation. It's okay. Again, it's for movement tricks. Last of all, speed makes right an Orks model only, so any Orks model. In the command phase, if the bear or the transport they're on is within 9 inches of an enemy unit, you roll a d6, and on the 3+, you gain a CP. Woo! I think you're definitely taking this one, not because it's amazing, but because it's better than certainly this one. Probably this one. Like, these are my 2 top picks. Obviously, you have to be kind of danger close. But I think if you have someone in a transport, it's not too bad. CP are great. Orks love CP. So, okay. So, decent detachment rule, kind of mediocre enhancements. And again, keep in mind, I'm really looking at this competitively. For fun, I think this has already been a ton of fun. I think the other detachments are a ton of fun. But right now the question is, how strong do we think this book is at a first glance? Just to put a bit in context. Stratagems. Speediest Freaks, 1 CP, it's a strategic ploy. In your opponent's shooting phase or the fight phase, just after an enemy has selected its targets. You can pick a Speed Freaks or truck unit from your army that was selected as target of attack, gives them a 5+ invulnerable save, and if they're a vehicle with an unmodified toughness of 8 or less, they get a 4+ invulnerable save. That's awesome. So let's go ahead and check trucks again, because they were toughness 8. Let's just confirm the fact. You can see the buggies are toughness 7. Truck. Truck is still toughness 8. So there's something that they don't want you to use it on that's going to be bigger. We'll take a look when we look at the units. This is amazing. I love this. This is kind of a pseudo Night Shields. This works in melee, which I love. I think it's fantastic. Definitely I like it. Ooh, 1 Speed Freak, so this could even be biker unit. Ooh, that's nice. That's nice. Yeah, big fan of this. Next up, Squig Flingin, strategic ploy for a CP in your movement phase after a Speed Freaks or truck unit ends an advance or fall back move. You select a unit within 9, and they take a battle shock test at -1. It's okay. It's okay. If it works, it's fantastic. You turn off maybe control of an objective so you can take it for a secondary. You don't let them do strats. They still have to fail it though, so yeah, it's okay. Daka Storm, 1 CP battle tactic. In your shooting phase, you select a Speed Freaks unit from your army that has not been selected to shoot, and you give them sustained 1. If they're shooting at a target within 9, they get sustained 2. Love it. And then they know you cannot combine this with the next strat, which we'll see in a second. This is cool. I like this. I'm thinking about. I like it on I like it on bikes because you can take big squads. Not all the buggies are going to have enough volume that it's worthwhile. Def Coptas, I like it on Def Coptas. If you're going into a big enough target, because they of course have the D3 blast each, and you can take a big squad of 6. So that's really nice. Sustain 2 on that is cool. Yeah, so I like it. A bit situational, but me too. Blitzifier, so you can only do one or the other. This is a 1 CP battle tactic as well. In your shooting phase, you select a Speed Freaks unit, and this one gives them lethal hits. And if you're within 9, crits on 5s. So this is why you can't combine them, because if you could combine them, you'd be on 5s doing lethal and sustain 2, which would be ah! And of course, that'd probably be so good that you're going to just always do both of them at the same time. That's what they want to avoid. I like it. Again, situational. This is probably broadly stronger. This is, it's nice to have as a solution to some of those tougher targets. Lethals on 5s, not too bad, especially when you're an army that doesn't hit very well in the first place. You're kind of removing another barrier where you have to like hit on 5s, and then wound. It's a lot to get through. Next up, we've got Full Throttle, 1 CP battle tactic. Jeez. In your charge phase, after a Speed Freaks unit ends a charge move, you give them +1 to wound until the end of the turn. Fantastic. So Bikers getting +1 to wound with all those attacks. The Coptas, it's okay. So really, we're talking about Bikers here. There's a lot of Biker support, which is something we've kind of missed in the past in Cult of Speed. So that's cool. Last of all, more gets over here. Over ear, 1 CP, strategic ploy. And this is the classic, if someone ends within 9 inches of one of your Speed Freaks, you can make a 6-inch move. Very strong, very tactical. You can screen with the buggy and then scoot back. Again, I think it's particularly strong with like Bikers or Def Coptas. But I like it. I think it's fun to play. I think it's going to be interesting. I don't think it's the strongest detachment here that we've seen. With that, let's move on. We've got the Dread Mob. I was so hoping for a 10 heads detachment, and we got it. This one is a ton of fun, and I'm very curious to hear what folks think in chat. This one really gets some of the creative list building juices flowing. So we have a detachment rule. Try that button. Each time a mech, Ork Walker, or Groth vehicle from your army is selected to shoot or fight, you roll a d6, and you get one of these abilities. You get sustained hits, you get lethal hits, or you get AP2 on a critical wound. Alternatively, you could just select one of these, and if you do so, their weapons get hazardous. If they already have hazardous, you get hazardous on 1s and 2s, which is terrifying. And then last of all, your Gretchen units gain battle lines. So you can take a bunch of Grots to fill up the rest of the army, which is very interesting, because Grots are good, they're cheap, they get you CP. And that's going to help offset the fact that the rest of your army is going to be very, very expensive. So that's cool. It's a nice little addition. Rules-wise, I really don't like this. This is like, oh, if you roll this, then when you get 6s, and you can't count on it, right? The other two are interesting. I'll be curious on the under-over for picking different abilities, right? And keep in mind that you have lots of things that already have hazardous, things that already do damage to themselves. So it's going to be very dubious. I don't know how strong this is, but it's very, very cool. So let's take a look at the enhancements. One, we've got Smoky Gubbins. Classic. Mech model only, Bear's unit have stealth. Cool, -1 to hit is fantastic. Anything to make those infantry a little bit tougher, especially because they don't have amazing armor. Super Glowy Fang, this is mech model only. In your command phase, you select an enemy unit within 18, visible to the bear, and you roll a d6. Okay, 18 inches, visible, command phase. On a 1 or 2, they take a battle shock test. On a 3-4, they take d3 mortal wounds. And on a 5-6, they have their -1 to hit until their next command phase. Weird. It's not great, but it is fun. If you like random charts, this is the one for you. Next up, Press It Fasta, mech model only. Each time the bear's unit is selected to shoot, when you roll on the try that button chart, you can roll an extra d6, and you gain both effects. If you do roll a duplicate, though, you don't get double effects. You don't get to reroll. You don't get anything. Yeah, it's cool. I like it. It's mech model only, so interesting. Each time a mech vehicle unit. So anything you can attach a mech to, mech in. Okay. I mean, obviously, in a weird way, this actually could be boyz. It could be lootas, could be burners. I'm into this. Because there are good abilities. The only question is, are you going to get the right one at the right time? And this helps kind of make that a bit more likely to happen without having to pick on the chart. Last of all, Git Finder Goggles, mech only, gives the unit ignore cover, which is good. I like this particularly on lootas because they have pretty wild output potentially, but low AP. And so this is going to help get around it. Things like burners already have no AP, so whether you ignore cover or not doesn't always matter. If it's something like power armor, it doesn't change anything. This is great. Basically, +1 AP. I like it. So in here we've got none of them are like game breaking, but I think you're consistently taking. I think these would be my top 3, right? This is kind of fun. These are the 3 that you're taking if you're taking anything, but none of them are like blowing like my world wide open. So I have that. Moving on to the stratagems. Buckle up because it's going to get wild from here on out. 1 CP, Clank and Claws. It's a battle tactic. You select an Orc Walker unit in your fight phase, and you can choose to push it. Real good. Till the end of the phase, you get +2 strength for their melee weapons, and if you choose to push it, you get +1 damage, and they gain hazardous. So like the claws are like overcharging and exploding and doing extra damage, and it's so cool. Oh, it's amazing. So I don't even know if it's good. It's just cool, and that's kind of what we should be saying when we're looking at the Orc Codex. So let's get a bit of perspective on this. Let's take a look at some of these units. So Killicans, I think, is one of the ones that comes to mind for a lot of these detachments. This will take you to strength 10, which is a very important inflection point, right? You have a lot of transports that are like 8 or 9. You have Armigers, War Dogs, those are at 10. And then, of course, you have the super tough units. So this means you're going to be wounding the transports generally on 3s. You're going to be wounding those mid-range vehicles like War Dogs on 4s. And then, of course, going from 3 damage to 4, always a welcome thing, right? So I'm into it. I think this is great on Killicans. You can do it on Def Dreads, of course. This is going to take us to strength 14. Important. +1 strength is probably about the same. But whatever, we'll take +2. Damage is, again, always good. Okay. And then we'll talk about the Stompa at the end. I think we'll do like a full Stompa breakdown. What I want to look at is Gorkanaut and Morkanaut. Where are my big boys at these days? Here we are. Okay, let's look at the Gorkanaut. This is the combat variant, technically. And strength 18 up to 20. I mean, yeah, you're wounding those War Dogs you talked about on 2s, so that's cute. And then damage it up to 7. I'm into it. I'm totally into it. So that's Clank and Claws, Orcs Walker, totally. Next we've got Super Fueled Boiler for a CP. This one's in your movement phase for a Walker unit. And you can reroll advanced rolls, and range weapons have Assault. I like this. I like this a lot. It lets you be aggressive. I think that's one of my biggest difficulties with a lot of the mechs, the Walkers right now, like the Gorkanaut and Morkanaut, is like in the Wa turn, because they have decent shooting, you're never really taking advantage of the Wa, right? Because, in my opinion, a lot of Orc guns should have been Assaults so that you can shoot when you Wa, but whatever. And this lets them do that. So I like this. I think this is fantastic. Next up, we've got Bigger Shells for Bigger Gits as a CP. Shooting phase, you select a mech, Walker, or Grot's vehicle. Grot's vehicle, folks. Now, I assume this is going to affect Killicans, but that might be one of the few instances we actually see some Forge Roll support. Yeah, so they've got Grots here. But that's also going to work for the Grot tanks from Forge World, which I am quite keen on now with this new book. So Bigger Shells for Bigger Gits, 1 CP in the shooting phase. Again, you can choose to push it. What it's going to do is, if you target a monster or a vehicle, you get +1 to wound, And if you push it, +1 damage. Oh my gosh, I love it. And if you do the damage, you have hazardous, which, again, keep in mind, this can be dubious because cans only have 5 wounds, so I guess that's dubious. The big walkers, the Gorkanaut and Morkanaut, it can be a little bit dubious because they just have so many guns. And you're going to roll hazardous for each of the ones that do this. Which is all of them. So, yeah, keep in mind. But, I mean, +1 to wound, +1 damage. Can't say no to that. Next up, we've got Daka, 1 CP in the shooting phase, Grot's Walker, Grot's Vehicle. This gives them the option to push it. It lets them reroll hit rolls of 1. But if you push it, reroll all hit rolls. Now we are cooking. Like, oh my gosh, the Grot tanks with a bunch of rockets or mega cannons rerolling. Oh, suddenly they're very consistent. Again, you get hazardous, so it's a bit risky with them because they have a bunch of volume. But even like on rocket launchers, it's nice. Honestly, I don't hate the Grotzukas. You know, D3+3, blast, ignore cover, strength 6, AP 1. It's like an interesting profile to be at. I think it's cool. I think it's very cool. So, I don't know. Gets me excited. Next up, we've got Conniving Runts, 1 CP strategic ploy. This is your opponent's movement phase after they've ended a normal advance or fallback within 9 of a Grot unit. You roll a dice, and on a 4+, they take D3+1 mortal wounds, and you can make a normal move. It's so fun. And like actually good. Like you have, so your Grots are battle line, your Gretchen are battle line, so you can take up to 6 of them. You're going to be using them to screen out your more precious things. You're going to want to be aggressive on getting onto objectives to then get the good bits. And when people get close, chuck some bombs, then like run away. It's awesome. This is like, and Eldar are going to hate this. You know, Eldar, GSC, any of those like more fragile kind of movement-based factions are going to hate this ability. It's awesome. Also important to note, you roll dice on a 4+, it does the mortal wounds. Your unit can then make a normal move. So the mortals might not always happen, but the move does happen. So that's nice. Last of all, extra gubbins for a CP. This is a battle tactic. In your opponent's shooting phase after an enemy unit has selected its targets, you pick an Ork Walker or Grot's Vehicle, not Titanic. So everything else here can affect the Stompa. But this one cannot. -1 damage. Love it. Do I wish it worked in melee? Yeah, I do, honestly. But I guess the Orks are pretty happy if we've made it to melee and we're taking that kind of damage anyways, right? Fantastic. Ork Walker, Grot's Vehicle. Nice. I like it, I like it, I like it, I like it. Now, I'm pretty sure these days, yeah, Gorkanaut, Morkanaut, also Titanic, so it won't work on them. But Killikans, Def Dreads, Grot tanks, love it. I'm into it. I'm into it. Now, there's been a lot of talk about the Stompa, so let's take a couple minutes, just a couple minutes, to look at the Stompa. The points in the book, of course, are going to be out of date, so the Stompa points are what the Stompa points are right now. We might get an update when in a couple weeks, but for now, it's basically what's in the app currently. So the Stompa. I'm going to go ahead and actually pull up the Stompa on the app. So this is the old version, the current version as of recording. This is, again, right before this book comes out for everyone. So let's take a look. 10, 14, 2+, 30, 6+, 12, 6+ invuln, all the same. Okay. Let's look at abilities real quick. Deadly Demise, 2d6. Effigy, 12-inch bubble, +1 battle shock. Yep, still kind of sucks. And then we've got Stomping Forward. This is the kind of Titanic walkover models, fallback, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Damaged on 1 to 10. That's the same, that's the same. Transport capacity is 22. Mega armor, jump pack. Gaz takes 18. Okay, so that's all the same. All the same. Weapons-wise, this is my fear. Everyone was like, "Oh, the Stomp is going to be in this new Ari box. Is it going to be interesting?" I don't know. 6, 3, 24, AP 5, 10 damage, 18, 3, 10. Yeah, this is the melee is all the same. Range weapon-wise, I imagine this is going to be the same as well. Yep, same. Super rockets. Yeah, same. So unless I'm missing something, Stompa is exactly the same as it was. So, given that, let's talk about it. Let's talk about what that means. So Dread Mob, we can give it extra strength and damage in melee, which is really funny. Wait, hold on. How many stomps does it have? It has 18 stomps, which you can, 18 sweeps, which you can take to 4 damage. Amazing. And let's see, this one was, oh yeah, give it advancing, reroll advances, give assault, love it. This is the +1 damage in shooting and +1 to wound, awesome. And it doesn't have that many wounds, so the hazardous isn't so terrible here. Rerolling full, although this is, oh my god, it works on this. Stompa with full hit rerolls. That's cool. It is a battle tactic, so it is getting vected to all infinity. And then Grotz, and then not Titanic. But these 4, we gotta play some Stompa. I'm excited. Let me know what you're cooking up when it comes to Stompas and Dread Mobs, folks. This detachment, super cool, super fun. I think it can be pretty strong. The detachment, the strats are fantastic. This is kind of meh / random / you're doing damage to yourself. So I think it balances out to be like decent, definitely playable. You can take it to a tournament and have fun and certainly win some games. Now we come to the real stuff, in my opinion. We've got 2 more detachments, and these are, in my opinion, the 2 best. Pause for dramatic coffee sip. Okay, so Green Tide. This is the return of the mobs of boys. My back is not going to thank me for this. This harkens back to the olden days where I'd run 150 Goth boys with Gaz and the 15 Ludus teleporting everywhere. Ugh, I'd say simpler times, but it wasn't very simple at all. So Green Tide is all about big groups of boys. Let's take a look. Detachment rule is mob mentality. Each time an attack targets a boys unit, models in that unit have a 5+ invulnerable save against that attack, not just ranged attacks. Oh my god, amazing. This is what we've been waiting for. In addition, if the Orks unit has 10 or more models, and actually that one does affect non-boys, sure, you can reroll saving throws of 1. Kind of annoying to keep track of, but it is good, obviously. But the 5+ invulnerable save, I cannot stress enough. This is like basically WA all the time. Like you won't have advance and charge all the time, and the knob with WA banner is gone from the book, so you don't get double WA anymore with these kinds of units. But they're just so durable. Boys have been kind of second fiddle to Beast Nagas for a while now. Like, there certainly are reasons to take them. I have taken them. But this really gives you a reason to take them over Beast Naga boys. Unless I'm wrong, this only applies to boys. Because people have been wondering, is it going to work on Beast Naga boys? Is it going to work on Storm boys? The answer, to my knowledge, is no. Because they didn't change any of the keywords. Storm boys have the Storm boys keyword. Burna boys have Burna boys keyword. Now, each of these sections is a keyword. So it's not Storm boys or Burna boys, it's Burna boys. And of course, the same thing is going to go for the Beast Naga boys. You can see Beast Naga boys, they don't have what they need. They have Beast Naga boys as 1 keyword, whereas regular boys have just boys. So yeah, that does mean you're going to have to take plain Jane regular boys, which I think is fine. I think that's for the best, because the moment you introduce the other units, then I think that starts to water them down, and it makes it so that, well, maybe boys isn't the best option. Maybe it is just 30 Storm boys or whatever the maximum for those is these days, and a bunch of Beast Naga boys. Beast Naga boys are already great. They don't need help. Boys need help. So there we are. Anyways, back to the rules. Enhancement. We've got, of course, 1, 2, 3, 4 detachments. Enhancements. Ferocious show-offs. Orks infantry. Each time the bear fights when resolving those attacks, they get +1 strength, and if the bear's unit has 10 or more models, +3 strength. It's okay. Can help you push you over certain thresholds with power claws and things. So yeah, I'm into it. However, some better ones in here. Brutal but cunning. In your command phase, if the bear is on the battlefield or in a transport, you roll a dice on a +2 if they have a unit with 10 or more. On a 5, you get 1 CP. I love it. It's fantastic. Definitely putting this on the big unit of boys or a big unit or a unit of 10 boys that's going to sit in the back and just give me CP all game. If you're going to run a Grots, not as necessary, but in the lists I've been making, given the current points, I don't have a lot of extra space for Grots, actually, funny enough. It's like, once you put 120 boys in the list, not much room for much else. Bloodthirsty Belligerents, Orc Infantry. This lets you reroll advance rolls, and if you have 10 or more models, reroll charge rolls. Fantastic, love it. Lets us be better at what we want to do already. Last of all, the Raucous Warcaller, Orc Infantry model only. While they're leading the unit, they always count as containing 10 or more models for the purposes of your detachment rule or any stratagems you use. So, given the fact that you're not having, you could have these, right? If you have a unit of boys, you can have 2 characters. So that could help this if one of them is a war boss. You're going to get to reroll your invulns, your saves of 1. Let's see what else it means, and we'll come back to Raucous Warcaller. So moving on to the strats here, we have a classic competitive streak. The way this one works now is in your fight phase, 1 CP for battle tactic. You select a boys unit that has not fought yet. It's going to let you reroll wound rolls of 1, but if they have 10 or more models, you get to reroll all wound rolls. Happy, happy days. This is fantastic because if you're going to run 120 boys, you actually will struggle sometimes into these bigger, tougher targets where you're not quite hitting the strength threshold that Beast Snagga boys can. So this is awesome. Combine it with Raucous Warcaller, you're going to get all the time. Next up, Bulldozer Brutality. It's a 1 CP battle tactique. In the fight phase, you select a boys unit that has not been selected to fight, and this lets them fight if they're just within 3 inches of enemy models. And it's time to select a fight when determining which models your units are, blah, 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 and you use them. Within 3 inches of 1 or more enemy models. And then, yeah, basically gives you a longer range on your fighting. So you can fit all 30 boys in there and actually fighting, which is fair. Like, the way that they changed engagement range in 10th edition means that it is actually tough to get everyone fighting when you're going to have these massive, massive squads of 20. So cute. I like it. Bragging Rights is 1 CP strategic ploy. In your command phase, you pick 2 boys units that are each within 6, and until the start of your next command phase, as long as they stay within 6 inches of each other, they both count as having 10 or more for all the rules we just mentioned. I think it's cool, it's cute. It seems a bit niche, but I think it's actually going to be pretty important to the play style of the army, as it's going to unlock the core detachment benefits, a number of enhancements, and a number of stratagems that you use later on. So I'm actually into it, even though it might seem a bit odd for now. We've got, come on lads, strategic ploy, 1 CP. In your command phase, you select a boys unit from your army, and you return D3+2 destroyed models to the unit, obviously excluding characters. Yes, we're regenerating! 1 CP, I love it, fantastic. Gonna do it every chance I get. I know some people are gonna be like, oh no, it's not the same as Necrons or Tyranids. That's fine, it's a different context. These are the boys, y'all. Yeah, so I think it's cool, it's good. It's a good amount. Next up, Tide of Muscle, 1 CP, Epic Deed in your charge phase, select a boys unit. This one, buckle up, because it is wild. Until the end of the phase, each time your unit declares a charge, add the current battle round number to the charge roll. It's so good. Even if you do this turn 1, +1 to charge for a CP, absolutely awesome. And then on it only gets better. The list I'm playing with right now, haven't tested it, so, you know, future Adrian, just let me know if this works out. 3 units of 20 boys, each of which has a pain boy for a 5 of feeling pain, and a war boss to do war boss stuff and unlock second character. 3 more units of 20 boys, each of which has a weird boy. Now, weird boys I haven't loved. You can pick a unit up, drop it down 9 away. Rely on 9-inch charges, not really my thing. But when you're getting +1, +2, +3, 4, 5 to the charge, then suddenly it's very strong, very consistent, and of course you superpower the weird boys at banger shots. So, look, I'm here for it. We're gonna try it. And last of all, go get him, 1 CP, strategic ploy, in your opponent's shooting phase after an enemy unit has selected its targets. One of your boys' units that was shot at can make a go get him move. You roll a d6 for each, you can roll a d6, and each model unit can move a distance up to the result, but they must end as close as possible to the closest enemy unit. They can be moved within engagement range of the enemy unit, and if it contains 10 or more models, it can move 6 inches. Oh. If you've played against World Leaders, Berserkers, or if you played against Space Wolves with their Wolfguard battle leaders, this is a very strong ability that can absolutely shut down shooting armies. They just get up in your face. If you get too close and try to like get an objective that you're about to shoot them off of, they just lock you up, and now there's no more shooting. It is awesome. This detachment is very strong. I think it's going to change the way that orcs are played competitively. I hope it's not too much of a pain to play with / against. I'm going to try it, but I think it's great. Amazing detachment rule, good enhancements, fantastic stratagems. So this, thus far, I think is the strongest detachment that we've looked at. It's going to be very cool to see boyz on the field again. And that takes me to my personal favorite detachment that I think is also one of the strongest. And it is the return of the bully boyz. The bully boyz has a long history. One of my favorite was when this was a detachment way back when of just mega knobs and war boss. Might have even been Gaz specifically. It's so cool. This is all about knobs and mega knobs and war bosses and like elite infantry. Fantastic. So we've got the detachment rule. The boss is watching. At the start of a battle round in which you have not called a WA, if you have one or more war boss models on the battlefield or in a transport, you can call a WA for the second time. And when doing so, it only affects war bosses, knobs, and mega knobs from your army. Oh my goodness, this is fantastic. I love it, I love it, I love it. And I want to take a moment to talk about another data sheet, and it's the not so humble mega knob. Mega knobs. Loving those mega knobs. We've got a bit of a glow up here. Formerly, they had Crump in Time, which gave devastating wounds on the WA turn, which was good. You put him in Gaz, gives him devastating, that's awesome, I like it. But now Crump in Time is all about surviving. During the battle round in which you call a WA, models in this unit have the Feel No Pain 4+. Oh, it's so beautiful. Yes. 2+ save, 6 toughness 6, 3 wounds, and then you can feel the pain for a 4+. That's wardens for 2 turns in this detachment. It's awesome. So yeah, look, mega knobs, they're back in a big way, baby. I am so stoked for them. So that's fantastic. Of course, the knobs are going to have -1 to wound with the war boss in them. Oh, so exciting. And then they also, I'll make another little shout out to the war boss in mega armor, because their ability was fixed, in my opinion. This was dead brutal. It used to be when you're in the WA turn, you get a 4+ Feel No Pain on just this guy, which was like, whatever, I guess, and you can't precision him out. But now it gives him +1 damage on his huge chop by taking the damage 3. That's awesome. That's fantastic. That leverages the strength and not focusing on like a tiny niche case. So I'm into it. So amazing detachment rule. I love it. Let's take a look at the enhancements. Teleporter, Warboss and Mega Armor only. Models in the Bears unit have the Deep Strike ability. Fantastic. It's a slow army. Great way to deliver them. If you can use Rapid Ingress, well, you're going to go far. So learn how to do that. Big Gob, Infantry Warboss only. At the start of the fight phase, you select an enemy unit within range of the bear. They must take a Battle Shock test at -1. Again, I'm always nervous about Battle Shock tests because they may or may not work. They're not that difficult to pass. -1 helps. Frankly, this one at the moment I think is cheap enough that if I can fit it in my list, I will take it, because it's nice to charge a unit, Battle Shock them, and have them like not be able to armor contempt or fight on death or whatever strats they might have. So I'm actually into it, despite the fact that it's a Battle Shock. Next we've got the Biggest Boss, Infantry Warboss only. Add 2 to the bear's wound characteristics. It's good, it's nice, it's cute, but I actually think it's probably the one that I would leave out in the list. Last of all, Ed Stompa, Infantry Warboss only. Each time the bear makes an attack that targets a unit below starting strength, reroll a wound roll of 1. Cute. If they're below half strength, reroll the wound instead. I think these two are the weakest two, but I'm going to start playing around with this one, I think more so than this. We'll see. But I think they're both kind of in a similar power level. So fantastic 2 enhancements here, and 2 that are like, Let's take a look at the stratagems. We've got Armed to the Teeth, 1 CP battle tactic. This is in your shooting phase or the fight phase. You can select a knobs or mega knob unit. And the way it works is you're going to be allowed to reroll hit roll of 1. It's cute, it's whatever. But if it's the WA turn, you get to do full hit rerolls, which is absolutely bananas. So I really like this on Mega Knobs. They don't have amazing weapon skill to start. It's just a 4+. I do like the saws, so you're getting twin linked. So with this strat, it's full hit rerolls, full wound rerolls. It's fantastic. It's kind of funny you can do this in the shooting phase, so I guess if you really want to make combi weapons a thing, you can do that, but really this is for the fight phase. Next up, we've got too arrogant to die, 1 CP strategic ploy. In your opponent's shooting phase or the fight phase, after an enemy unit has selected its targets, you pick one of your knobs or mega knobs units that was selected as the target of the attack. Makes sense. What does it do? It lets you fight on death or shoot on death. It's only a 5+, but as you guessed it, when you're in your WA turn, you get a +2 to this. So this is on a 3+. I think this is fantastic. I think it makes sense that it's not automatic. We saw the Warhorde makes it automatic, but they're not getting the benefits here. They're not getting 2 turns of 4+ Feel No Pain, mega knobs re-rolling all their stuff. So that's fair. So this is amazing. 1 CP is fantastic. Can't be vected. And then we've got always looking for a fight. This is strategic ploy for a CP. And in the fight phase, after an enemy unit is destroyed, allows the unit to make a consolidation move of 3 + D3 instead of 3. And if you're in the WA turn, it's a 6. It's situational, but can be good for tagging things up or getting on objectives, things like that. So probably the least exciting of the ones we've seen, but still good. Crushing Impact 1 CP Epic Deed. In your charge phase, after a knobs or mega knobs unit ends a charge move, you select them and they do mortal wounds on the charge. You roll a dice for each model in the unit, and on a 5+, it does a mortal, up to 6. And if it's a WA turn, on a 4+. I love it. It's better on knobs than mega knobs, because knobs you can take into squads of 10, plus the character. Means you're doing 5.5 mortal wounds very consistently, which is awesome. Mortal wounds are so strong in the Orc army. Because as I mentioned, a lot of our stuff is kind of lower AP. Not really in this list, but whatever. So this is great. Cut them down, 1 CP battle tactic in your opponent's movement phase after an enemy unit selected to fall back. So if they try to fall back, you can select your knobs or mega knobs, and they have to make a desperate escape test at a -1. So they're dying on 1s and 2s, and of course if they're battle shocked, I guess you wouldn't do that. But yeah, 1s and 2s, they're dying. Cute, situational, but against elite armies, it's pretty gosh darn terrifying, actually. And one of the cool things is there's no restriction on types of units. Often it'll be like, oh, you can't do this on vehicles or monsters. Like, no, we are going to cut you down, Magnus, if you try to run away. Awesome. Hulking Brutes is our last stratagem. 1 CP battle tactic. In your opponent's shooting phase, after an enemy unit has selected its targets, you pick a knob or mega knob unit. Armor Contempt, baby. Let's go. We finally got one of our own. You're going to subtract 1 from the AP. Oh, it's so good. Again, better on mega knobs because they got that 2-up save. Because they don't have the invuln natively, right, like Terminators do, this is a nice consolation prize. We're going to have 2 turns of WA with 5+ invuln, 4+ Feel No Pain, and this will help just be even tougher to kill. So this detachment is so cool, so fun. I am, as I mentioned, the most excited for this. Lots of mega knobs, lots of knobs, war bosses, Gaz. It's going to be awesome. And I think it's one of the stronger. I think I would say probably this one and the Green Tide are probably my 2 strongest. I would put probably Cult of Speed and the Big Hunt the lowest. So probably like 1 and 2 with no particular order. Number 3, 4th place. I'm doing this backwards. These are the best. These I think are the best. So 1st and 2nd place, 3rd place, 4th place, 5th and 6th. Take your pick. Again, could totally be wrong. This is just a first look, but that's where we're at. Now, before we wrap up, I want to talk about a couple of data sheets. We've mentioned most of the ones that are important, and I'm sure there's a couple I'm going to leave out here. So definitely let me know in the comments below. We'll have more Orc stuff coming in the future. Maybe we take a closer look at some of these data sheets. Gaz. Happy days, happy days. Gaz now has a 2 damage sweep. Sorry, the lion. That's awesome. So he's not going to get stuck and bogged down by dumb little units anymore. Fantastic. I love it. The Warboss and Mega Armor, we mentioned, has an improvement to the Dead Brutal rule, +1 damage. In a WA turn. Nothing new here, to my knowledge. The Big Mech, this is probably one of my most contentious units personally, and I want to know what y'all think. I love the lore of him, is he lets your unit kind of teleport through things. You can join boyz, ludas, mech guns, knobs. And I think probably the most contentious rule for me is the ability to move through models and terrain as if they weren't there. My difficulty here is orcs don't move very fast. So if you're not Ying, does it really matter if you can move through something or not? It doesn't work on the charge. So is it a good ability? On the other hand, like it does stop you from getting move blocked on the Wa turn. I don't know. I could see it being good. Generally, I'm pretty skeptical, especially because if you're taking him, you're not taking a Pain Boy or a Weird Boy. I'm thinking about like the Green Tide, right? So I don't know. Let me know. Let's see. Moving along. Beast Boss. I did break some of the bad news to y'all. They are toughness 8, 8 wounds. That's the same. Only 5+ feel no pain now. That's a bummer, but I think it's okay. They've rejiggered the way they work. Now they are leaders. They give +1 to charge for the unit that they lead, and they give a 0 CP heroic intervention for the unit they leave. So I think it's fine. I think it's kind of a horizontal move. Still going to be strong, so don't worry. I love them too. They're awesome, but they're still going to be good. Pain Boss, Pain Boys, big ready to see a lot of these, and a lot of these. Mazrog definitely took a hit as well. 5+ feel no pain, toughness 8. But he maintained his 4+ invulnerable save. He maintained a lot of brutal damage. He is going to fight on death on a 4+. And once again, is a leader. So that's a thing, for sure. Snickrot, probably one of the final data sheets I want to mention. They finally gave him Lone Operative, which is awesome. Like, I like that he's good for leading commandos and all that, but this way you can actually take him if you're not going to be playing heavy into commandos. He has uppy downy once per game. I think now you could actually take him just to score with Lone Op, which is cool. You want to see him around, right? Moving along, we talked about Mega Knobs getting the 4+ feel no pain on their Wa turn. I'm trying to see if there's anything big I want to shout out. You know, pour one out for the boys that we lost, of course, in the Forge World, resin characters. So Badruk is gone, Zakstruck is gone. I know I'm forgetting something else, but it sucks. It sucks. It's a bummer. The biggest bummer is honestly Badruk, because they did not change flash kits. So I think flash kits are just super out of the game right now, which sucks. So fix that, GW. Squighog boys, as I mentioned, we roll in the knob into the unit. So now for every 3 Squighogs, you get a knob. So if you're like me and didn't end up building all the knobs because you didn't need them, it's time to go dig them out from the shelves. So yeah, that's that. I think that's just about it for big changes unit-wise. I'm sure that I'll have missed a couple. This is just first passes into things. It is a very cool book, very, very exciting, and I hope you all will join us as we play them. We're going to have a good talking about this and the new Custodes, and let me know what you're excited about. I am so excited for this book, and that's going to do it for me. I'll catch y'all next time on the Tabletop. Bye!